While the Boeing VC-25 is globally recognized as Air Force One, its counterpart, the E-4B, operates in the shadows. Better known as the Doomsday Plane, it is a mobile command center designed for the one scenario no one wants to see: nuclear war. During the 1950s and 60s, the United States and the Soviet Union amassed massive stockpiles of nuclear warheads. Both nations proved they could strike one another, a tension that peaked when the Soviet Union positioned missiles directly in Cuba. To manage this massive arsenal, the United States established a rigid protocol. In order to authorize a nuclear strike, there is exactly one person with the authority to make the call: the president. Once that call is made, the orders are processed through the U.S. Strategic Air Command, located at Offutt Air Force Base in the middle of Nebraska, placing it well beyond the immediate range of hostile bombers. From this command center, orders are relayed to the U.S. nuclear triad. The strike can be executed using land-based silos, deep-sea submarines, or aircraft bombers. All of this logic works smoothly, but it relies on a single, fatal assumption: that the United States is the one launching the initial strike. If another nation strikes first, a nuclear detonation releases a wave of electromagnetic pulses. This side effect acts like an invisible shockwave that instantly knocks out the electrical grid across a vast radius. That pulse destroys vulnerable communication networks. Without those networks, the president's call to strike back might never reach its designated target. Furthermore, fixed locations like Offutt Air Force Base and the Pentagon are primary targets. In a surprise attack, these static command structures would be wiped out in the initial blast. This geographic vulnerability created a strategic nightmare. If an enemy believed they could successfully decapitate the U.S. leadership in a single move, they might be emboldened to launch. To prevent this, the military relied on the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, the guarantee that even after a surprise attack, the U.S. would maintain the capacity to retaliate. To guarantee a counterstrike, the ground-based command infrastructure had to be entirely replicated. The solution was to lift the whole system off the ground and move it into a moving, unpredictable target in the sky. The result is the E-4B, a retrofitted 747 functioning entirely as a mobile replacement for ground control. Towards the front is a VIP suite for the President or Secretary of Defense. Just behind is a small conference room where surviving leadership would manage the war. Moving further back reveals the battle staff area, which is the largest room inside the plane. It operates like a typical office, filled with workstations where military personnel track the unfolding global emergency and coordinate the response. But unlike a standard office, this environment is built to absorb an attack. The plane's windows are covered in a dense wire mesh designed specifically to block outside electromagnetic radiation. Even in an era of digital glass cockpits, the flight controls and sensitive instruments on the E-4B are intentionally left analog. Without complex electronic displays, an EMP blast cannot fry the plane's ability to fly. The interior layout serves as a functional command center, but its physical construction acts as a heavily shielded, low-tech fortress designed specifically to operate during a high-tech disaster. Past the main staff area is the communications suite. Specialists here monitor multiple overlapping networks, allowing them to instantly switch systems if one becomes unavailable. One key system sits inside the distinctive hump on top of the fuselage. It houses a super high-frequency dome linking directly to military satellites. However, the plane's most extreme piece of engineering is located underneath this workstation. It is an interior spool holding a single cable that measures 5 miles long. That cable is unspooled while the aircraft is in flight. To keep the wire stable, the jet enters a gentle, continuous bank, flying in circles to drag the massive tether through the sky below it. This enormous length is required to generate very low-frequency radio waves. Because these specific wavelengths are physically massive, transmitting them requires an antenna that stretches for miles. Transmitting at such low frequencies offers one crucial physical advantage: the radio waves can penetrate deep beneath the surface of seawater. This property allows the aircraft to establish a direct connection with the ballistic missile submarines hiding far below the ocean surface. Without this 5-mile physical tether trailing through the clouds, the president would have no reliable way to issue commands to the Navy's submerged nuclear arsenal during a crisis. The effort to maintain an airborne connection dates back to 1961 with Operation Looking Glass. The initial program utilized retrofitted EC-135 aircraft. The mission's name was entirely literal. The planes were equipped to mirror the exact ground capabilities of Offutt Air Force Base from the safety of the sky. To ensure that safety, the Air Force maintained a continuous airborne alert. From 1961 to 1990, day or night, there was at least one of these planes flying in the air at all times. Today's E-4B Doomsday Plane takes that endurance even further. It is capable of mid-air refueling, allowing it to stay airborne indefinitely during a prolonged conflict. In practice, the jet can orbit the Earth continuously for a full week. The only limiting factor that forces it to finally land is that its engines eventually consume all their structural lubricant. Treating the airspace as a permanent base ensured that any attempt at a surprise decapitation strike was physically impossible to complete. Currently, the 4 E-4Bs operated by the Air Force are supported by 16 E-6 Mercury planes operated by the Navy, creating a highly redundant network. If every critical command post on the ground is destroyed simultaneously, this web of aircraft will instantly absorb the fallen communication lines and keep the military online. The E-4B remains a singular aircraft, a massive 747-sized relic of Cold War planning that remains in active service today. It exists for a single, paradoxical purpose: to manage the details of a global catastrophe. Ultimately, the existence of this multi-billion-dollar program serves as a psychological deterrent against any adversary considering a first strike. The Doomsday Plane occupies a unique place in the military inventory. Its value isn't measured in combat sorties or cargo delivered, but by the fact that as long as it stays in the air, its ultimate mission has not yet begun.